Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another exciting design tutorial with UXmate. In this video, we are going to continue our animation series in Figma. If you haven't checked out previous videos in this series, make sure you go ahead and watch those videos, because in those videos we have started with how to do animations in Figma from basic, using frames and using components, and then in our upcoming videos in the series we have created this plant animation from scratch. So today we are going to see how to create custom pivot points in Figma without using any plugin, and how we can use those custom pivot points to do complex animations. So let's not waste more time and let's jump into the tutorial. So what we'll be doing here, we'll be creating let's say this is what my object is, and now if you see, if you do a rotation, you do it from the center. Let me have a little bit smaller in the size so you'll be able to see how it is rotating. So it is rotating from the center of the object. So if you see, let me draw another circle for example. So now when we rotate this object, it is rotating around the circle, right, around the center. So now let's say, what if I want to rotate this object from this particular position or anywhere on the object, or even doesn't matter, it should be on the object as well. So let's just frame this ellipse, and that's it. You are done. You would be saying, okay, are you kidding me? No, that's it guys. So we just have to draw a ellipse, or something. It could be anything, a dot, but ellipse or a circle makes more sense, because it gives us a feeling that okay, something is there, which is our center point, and based on that point we are rotating the objects. And now what we have to do, we just have to put this rectangle in this frame. That's it. Now it will be seeing, okay, my ellipse is gone. Okay, no, it's not gone, it's just below in the stack. I'll move it up, and then now when I select this frame and when I do rotation, see, I'm rotating this around this particular pivot point. Now what if I want to change this point to somewhere on the top? You would be seeing, okay, it is pretty straightforward. He'll just move this frame. No, it is not like that. What you have to do, you don't need to move the ellipse, you have to move your object. So your ellipse will be at this position only, but you would be just adjusting your object like wherever you want. Let's say I want to rotate it from this particular point, and then again I'll be selecting my frame. You can do it from here as well if you want to be precise, and you can do rotations from here as well. Let's do let's do a little bit funky thing. Let's just try to move it somewhere around here. It is not even in the like bounding boxes of the frame. Still it will work. Let me just change the color for visibility here. Okay, now even if I select this frame and I do rotation, it will rotate around that particular point. Isn't that quite interesting? So how we can leverage this to create dynamic animations in Figma? One of the most common example, if you would ask me, I would say, okay, a clock, right, or a watch. So a watch has like 3 different handles. Let me just duplicate this, and let's just make it a little bit smaller. Let's change the color, something like this, and then let's just center them. And now if you see, I can select my different hands, and then I can do the rotation, and you can definitely animate those things. So how would be animating this? So what we have to do, we have to select both of the frames together, okay, and then make a component out of it. Or if you want to be more organized, more structured, you can create a frame outside these elements, but let's just create a component out of it. And then I'll be adding a variant to the component. Properties, variant. I'll remove the clip content here, and then add a variant. it is not a bit organized, you're not able to see your objects or your components. So what we'll be doing, we'll be adding a auto layout first of all, and then changing the spacing between the objects. So let's say this is your first variant. I will be giving a after delay interaction here, after delay let's say 800 milliseconds, okay, and then I'll be doing a smart animate of around 300 milliseconds. Okay, let's do 600. Let's just put this component on the screen somewhere here, and now let's go into our second component and select this frame and change the rotation a little bit. And now let's test this out. See how cool it is rotating the hands around the pivot point which we have defined. We can further use this use case for doing character animations in Figma as well. We can set the custom pivot points, and you can use this as a bone kind of structure where let's say instead of having this as a, you can consider this as a hand as well, but let's say if it is a hand kind of thing, then it would be not following this type of motion. So let's say this is my shoulder and this is my forearm. So how it be doing, I would be keeping this sorry, I need to rotate the frames. I'd be keeping this something like this here itself, and then this second object somewhere around here. And now if we see, okay, so you can create different sort of animations using this cool technique. Let's see how we can leverage this same method to create more dynamic animations. You can use this same thing for any sort of objects. You can create any symmetrical or non-symmetrical objects as well, doesn't matter, and then you can use the same thing. So let me just add a fill here. It could be anything, no matter, like or let's just use the same our leaf kind of thing. Let's just do a little bit asymmetry in this. Okay, and then now I want a center point, something like this. Cool. Let's just frame this, frame selection, and then I'll create a couple of copies of this, and I'll move all of them in this frame. And now what I'll be doing, I'll be selecting individual copies. I'll be doing a little bit of rotation here. I'll be putting them somewhere around here. Do we have 4 copies or 5? I guess we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we have 4 copies only. Again, same thing, we need to pull in the ellipse at top so we can see it. And now if you see, when you rotate this, you can rotate the entire thing around this edge. What you can do further, like you can do some keyframes or some animation for these leaves as well, like where you can scale them up from 0, or you can push them a little bit outside in first frame. Let's just try to do it. Let's just reset the rotation. So let's keep it like this, in first instance. You can further use same technique, to create multiple pivot points. Like you can still have one more frame within this where you are like you would be pivoting it around this particular point. Let's say, let me just draw a circle for reference here. I'll frame this, and which leaf it is, okay, this one. I'll move it in this frame, and then I'll move this frame in this parent frame. So now if I select this frame 5 here, I can do the rotation for this leaf, and if I select this frame 4, I can do the rotation for all of these objects here. So you can create nesting of objects in the frames, and then you can create a component out of it, and then you can do animations from that. So let's create a component. Let's add a variant. Oops, sorry. Let's add a variant. Auto layout. Let me give space. I need more space definitely because let me do one thing. Let me just delete this, this leaf here, just to save some space. Doesn't matter. We can draw those leaves a little bit smaller. No worries. So let's again quickly set up this animation. Same animation, like same interaction we'll be having. After delay, change to this variant. Let's have 800, and then okay, let's have 600 for now. And what I'd be doing, I'd be moving these objects, or let me create one more variant here real quick, and I'll be having this to this variant after delay, and then I'd be having, let's say, okay, let's keep 800 here as well, and then it will take 600 to do the animation. So what we are going to do here, we are going to push all those objects near the center. So for this I'll be selecting the frame because we have created that internal frame or a nested frame here. Let's plot this. Let me delete this from the frame, let me bring in this component here. Oops. And let's just paste this animation. So sometimes in these cases, Figma doesn't load the animation properly because of might be caches. So what we have to do, we have to close the prototype and then again restart the prototype. So it will fix those issues which are related to animation or components or caching of the components. So now if you see, it has that cool animation, and you can go more crazy with this. You can do further things here. We just again pull them in, and then I'll probably scale them down a little bit. And though we are doing a reverse kind of animation, we should be having scale up instead of scaling down, but no worries, it is just for demonstration and how we can do crazy stuff in the Figma. I'll just scale this again a little bit, or let's just keep it as it is, doesn't matter. I'll move it somewhere here, and then I'll add some rotation to this leaf, something like this, and then let's try to play this. See, so with this technique you can create very dynamic animations almost in no time in Figma, and then definitely, like, this is going to be a game changer trick. So yeah, we'll be using this technique further in our upcoming videos, and then we will be creating, some text animations, some intro animations or title animations in Figma itself. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to check out other animation video tutorials in this series, because if you're not seeing them, you'd be not able to follow these tutorials, because we have started the series from like how to getting started with animation, and then how to do complex animations in the Figma using, and then we talked about the animation curves and the custom Bezier curve, and then in this technique we have seen how we can create more interesting animations, how we can add more interest to our animations using this custom pivot point technique. And then in our upcoming tutorials we'll be seeing, we'll be using this technique to create text based animation.